Some relevant facts. I was born in 1975 in Iran. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he signed my PhD in 2007, and shortly out 2005, and shortly after I was curated into the federal watch list, and I'm still exhibiting there. And I'm also a Sagittarius. This is particularly relevant because I build systems. My history is in music, and for me, the intersection of music and storytelling and instrument building was the key. That word instrument's gonna come up again and again and again, so I'll spend the first minute demystifying that word. It's that object, that uncanny thing in between. Here's an example. In 2007, I clicked on this funny button in Google News that said, customize your news, weird notion, and I added the word Iran, and I learned in the next few months that 90% of what Google knows about Iran is about who's gonna attack Iran. So we built an instrument that takes those words and translates them through a very loud, violent machine into beautiful, ephemeral, and useless smoke rings. I finally found an answer to the question of what is my medium. My medium is moving targets. And moving targets for me are systems that are intelligent and changing, and instruments that are both physical and digital and old and new, and also narratives that are layered and complex. Please, an example, you're thinking. In 2009, we became aware of an incredible discovery. Gabriela Gibson published an article in Nature that found this musical talent in mosquitoes. It turns out mosquitoes, they listen to one another and match pitch, which means you can tune a choir of them. So we built an instrument that tethers a mosquito and gives it a stimulus pitch and follows the pitch so that you can create a circular mosquito-machine love song. Oddly enough, this piece actually got acquired by a collector who had just fallen in love. It's the most impractical piece I've made. I've learned a lot and contributed as much as I can to the world of design build. For me, that's computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing, and the attitude of sharing everything. This whole thing kind of went to our head when we got a commission from a champagne maker, and we said, let's make this enormous loudspeaker that's 70 feet tall, and let's amplify the sounds of champagne bubbles. And then we did it, and here it is. On the top, you see the rendering. On the bottom, you see the actual photograph. They're so close. The architects and curators say, congratulations. The craftsmen and artists say, what a waste of time. Now to projection. In 2007, I founded a collective in Minneapolis called MAW, Minneapolis Art on Wheels, and we spent about 4 or 5 years designing dozens of instruments for rapidly deployable, unpermitted projections in cities. So we decided with the things that are known, this is a GRL model, we took a Trike, we added a bike and started projecting on buildings. So these go back and forth between instrument and image. Here's a bike that we expanded, and the emphasis was always on physical interfaces, drawing, manipulating objects. This is a regional model, a carcass-carrying backpack, Minnesota model. And of course, instruments for bringing in images too. So the story booth for getting that mugshot, such a powerful image. The drawing case for working with physical drawing, which was always really important for us. And of course, on the output side, so jibs and carrying projectors and more complex things like stages with projectors built in, coupled with moving parts, always taking lessons from the old world of mechanical theater, the old world of physical comedy, and combining them again with the digital things that can give you an aid in the participatory elements, and again, drawing as the interface. Now, these instruments, it's true, they're functional, they gather images and they diffuse images, but they really bring their own rules. They really impose a certain narrative in the interaction with people, and that's where I'd like to function. It's that narrative. And just as an aside, we really did take this projection medium to every place we could, including these deserts southwest of Egypt. So now, the plan. The plan is to research urban intervention. 3 is the magic number. The first part is to write a book that summarizes all of that projection work. The second part, make these instruments better. And the third part, to establish this center as an official entity that gathers this research and diffuses it at Carnegie Mellon University, where I teach. The first part's a manual. The target audience for the manual is this room. And again, it's a 3-part approach. So much to say about the history, but I just got to refer to Papa Guy Debord from his heyday of Situationist days. We need to work towards flooding the market with a mass of desires whose realization is not beyond the capacity of man's present-day means of action, but only beyond the capacities of old social organizations. This is important. I'm convinced that projected light in cities has the power to reveal, to make us dream, to help us imagine, and That's where I'd like to function. I'd like to make those desires possible. In the history, I come back again and again to the father of urban projection, Krzysztof Wodiczko. Everyone knows his work. This beautiful delineation between the monument, the vehicle, and the instrument. This is how he worked, and of course the musician in me is so excited. He started with building musical instruments and expanded into these other media. So now, how are we going to make case studies of our projections? This book has been very, very relevant for me. What if you could actually iconify and categorize the elements of a projection and apply it to what it takes to do a performance? So here are the people, here are the performers, and here are the cameras and the instruments and all the different things that make an event happen. And then let's try to analyze these 400, 500 different outings that we did over years in a systematic way. So something where a physical drawing is the interface, the audience can look at it, they can look at the drawings and as well as the projections. But these are going to be a series of recipes, essentially, including very complex ones that we actually deployed. So in summary, the urban projection project, that manual is about thinking and practicing. The thinking is deeply infused in that situationist work, but it's about an update. It's time for an update to that thinking, and that's what this book is trying to do. The second phase is very simple. I'm very influenced by this way of thinking about prototyping and critiquing and presenting, that circular way of taking an instrument and making it better by situating in a real home. So yes, we have all these instruments that we have to rework, and I'm really interested in manufacturing them in new ways and in larger numbers and with partnerships in the industry. I said nothing about it in this talk, but obviously there's software everywhere. We wrote a lot of software in this project that makes all this happen. All of that needs work. There are future directions that I'm interested in. I'm working on an Animate Everywhere toolkit using the world of surveillance to do animation in public spaces. Similarly, I'm very interested in out-of-body experiences, so I'm exploring how you can use drone vision to see something from a different place. And finally, the third part, which is to reach out and go and make this thing on the road. These are spots where we did projections. I'd like to do this again, but this time with a book in my hand, where I can leave it with people and allow it to go further. And what we need, it's not so different than what other people need, but it's essentially people. We're after people. I'm after people who have an interest in this, have a vision for urban intervention, and the opportunities that can come in collaborations with museums and community centers and companies and startups also. Thank you very much.